Yes, hello, folks. It's Andy, the angry white lawyer, ex-lawyer, here today to have a chat with you about the trans issue in the UK. Is it dead or is it still very much alive? As you can see, I'm in my van today. It's a bit cold outside. We're trying to keep it warm in here. Just have a quick sip of coffee. So, the trans issue. You'd think that after the ruling by the Supreme Court on what a woman is a while back, which went the way of the campaigners that said that a biological woman is a woman and nothing else, no self-identification stuff. They won that case, and I didn't expect it to go that way, actually, because the court is populated by quite liberal judges. I thought they'd find some way to go the other way. But in fairness to them, they didn't. They defined clearly what a woman is. You think that after that, the cases that were coming through the system would be quite clear-cut, wouldn't you? And to be fair, I think a lot of the rulings have gone that way. The problem is the organisations that seem to fail to recognise that ruling. And the NHS in particular has struggled with it and has been dragged kicking and screaming, it seems to me, into compliance with it. The case of the Darlington nurses recently did go the nurses' way. They felt they were discriminated against because the female nurses, were forced effectively to share a space with a trans woman, in other words, a man. And they felt that they were discriminated against, and the tribunal ruled in their favour. So the case went their way, but surely the NHS should have just withdrawn from that and said, look, bearing in mind the Supreme Court ruling, we don't oppose the judgment. But in fact, they fought it all the way, which was strange to me following the ruling, Supreme Court ruling. But the tribunal actually went further and said that the policy of the NHS, which was this, that anyone who identified as trans could use whatever facilities they liked, and if the non-trans people, in other words the vast majority, didn't like it, well, tough. I mean, my words, not theirs. They would have to use facilities elsewhere, and the tribunal actually said that was illegal, which may be a new wind of change blowing through the judicial system, thanks to the Supreme Court ruling, which is good. But it seems to me, from looking at some other cases, that the trans issue may not be quite dead yet. There was another case of the pond swimming case in Hampstead Heath, where a pond that is used by women, for women, is being used by trans women, men, in other words. And there was some uproar about it, and an organisation called Sex Matters took the case to the High Court. And I saw a headline that said, "Judge rejects this claim." And I thought, well, hang on, that flies in the face of the Supreme Court ruling. So when I looked into it, the judgment wasn't that, in fact. The judgment was simply that the venue in the High Court, it was felt by the judge anyway, was an inappropriate one for that particular case, and it should go to the county court, where one or more biological women could claim that they've been discriminated against, like the nurses did. I think they went to an employment tribunal for that one. So it's not what the headlines are telling you, that the case has been rejected. It hasn't been. So that's ongoing. So it may be dead, but not yet, because these cases are still being fought by organisations like the NHS. But that's really all I wanted to say about that. But apart from one thing, a big shout out. I've always never liked the idea of trans people trans women, men in women's sports. I've never liked it. Even though I'm the father of sons, I do have granddaughters, and the thought of them working hard to get somewhere in their sport, getting up early in the morning to go swimming perhaps, and reaching the top of their field and having to compete against a biological male, it just didn't seem right to me, and I think it doesn't seem right to most people. And shout out to Riley Gaines in the US, who brought this to the fore when she competed against a biological male by the chosen name of Leah Thomas. And she came, if you don't know about it, she came equal first with him. That shows how good she is. In a meeting, and was essentially forced by her organisation into handing over the trophy for pictures to the press because the optics looked better, for the organisation. And ever since, she really got on her high horse over it, understandably, and has campaigned ever since against trans men in sports, women's sports. And I think that's right. She did a wonderful job of bringing that to the fore. And I think Trump mentioned it in his campaigns on a number of occasions. It's not transphobic. It's not hateful to say these things. It's simply saying the obvious, that men have certain advantages over women biologically, and they shouldn't be allowed to compete against biological women. So that's my take. Is the issue of trans people in sports, trans people in the workplace, is that a dead issue now because of the Supreme Court ruling? Jury's out.